Melissa, that's a good word for it. One of the things we always talk about in sports, if you think you've seen everything, just wait. This turned into one of those nights as the Colts game was canceled not by the weather, not by the lights going out, but by a bad paint job. Dave First and Michael Grady were there to watch it all unfold. We go back to them live in Canton. Guys, quite the night.
And it unfolded live on WRTV 6, of all things. Call it the Hall of Shame game, the game that never happened between the Packers and the Colts. The good news is we will have Packers and Colts in November when it counts. This one didn't, although a lot of fans left here upset. Yeah. Spent a lot of money, a lot of time, some driving as far as 12 hours to get here. And the game that never happened.
Yeah, you have to think, really try to put yourself in the shoes of these fans, or even some of the players to a certain extent who are fighting for a roster spot and want every opportunity to showcase their ability to the coaches. And so while some at home may say, hey, look, it's just a preseason game, who cares? Look, some people drove, as you just mentioned, 24 hours round trip to get out here. Hotel stay, paying for parking.
Thousands of dollars.
Tickets weren't cheap to the game, and they really don't get anything.
This all began after, as you take a look at the video, it really started to develop around 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5:30 or so. We're looking out at midfield, and workers are out there still trying to get up the rubber pellets. And what had happened, the paint that they used to paint the logo, the Pro Football Hall of Fame at midfield, starting to congeal a little bit to the point where players would put their cleats into it and they couldn't move their feet after that.
Yes.
You're looking at a very dangerous situation.
Very dangerous situation. We were just touching the paint job in the end zone, and it's still sticky right now too.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of fancy words being thrown around. The bottom line, it was a bad paint job. They used the wrong paint on this field, and they tried to add extra rubber pellets down to try to take away some of the stickiness. That didn't work. They had too much at that point. And so just a poor job all around. And
it was handled poorly from the get-go and continued to be handled poorly, I think. Take a look at 8 o'clock. I mean, the fans here were never given an official announcement about what was happening. They followed Twitter, social media, Instagram, Facebook. They all realized, okay, yeah, this isn't going to happen. But they weren't told until just after 8 o'clock or so, and that's when the two teams were brought out. The Colts cheerleaders were brought out. Lee Greenwood was brought out. He started singing. Jim Irsay, you could tell from the get-go, very upset because his franchise is now associated with this.
We've been out on fields before, you know, I won't name the stadiums, that were a little questionable, you know, fields that were taken away for other events and fields that got put down, and we looked at some areas and said, hey, you know, this field is a little rough. It's a very unusual situation. It's something that shouldn't have occurred. We're disappointed, but at the same time, you know, being in the league for almost a half a century, I've seen some of these things occur before. So it's unusual, obviously, and we're going to make sure it doesn't happen again. You know where we are as a league with player safety, obviously. That's something that's a #1 focus. So, you know, it's something that was the right thing to do. We're disappointed, but we're going to make it right, and we're looking forward to a great season.
From a safety standpoint, yes, they made the right call. They shouldn't have played that game. But then, what do you do for the fans? How do you make them leave here with a smile on their face? Do you do an autograph session? I don't think that ever happened.
They dropped the ball on that. And so what they did, they brought the teams out, which was really awkward and bizarre. They introduced Dave Baker, the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and boos were raining down upon him. They interviewed the Hall of Fame, this year's Hall of Fame class once again. Lee Greenwood saying a couple of numbers out there on the football field.
It's hard to boo Lee Greenwood, by the way.
when he's singing Proud to be an American.
Right. What are you going to do?
And the Colts cheerleaders performed. And then it was so long, everybody.
How about some of these fans you talked to today?
Very annoyed.
Let's hear from some, shall we?
The president of Pro Football Hall of Fame, we heard on an ESPN interview, he knew at 5:30, and we found out on the internet around 6:45, and they eventually told the entire stadium at 8 o'clock. That was just, I mean, they still let people come in, buy things, spend a lot of money, and I mean, that's just not fair. They should have let people know ahead of time on the way in the gates, hey, this is not happening. You know, I mean, some of these people from Green Bay drove 20-plus hours to get here. That's just not fair to them.